Yellowstone National Park unfurls across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho like a living relic of the Earth's untamed past. A vast, volcanic sprawl where geysers hiss steam into the crisp air, meadows ripple under herds of bison, and dense forests of lodgepole pine whisper secrets older than the trails that cut through them. Lamar Valley, Specimen Ridge, Hell-Roaring Creek. These are names etched into maps, promising solitude and raw beauty. Cliffs carved by glaciers, streams glinting like liquid silver, the distant bellow of elk reverberating through the stillness. For Garrett Lauren, Callum Rossner, Aidan Murdoch, Jan Harrington, Caleb Orville, Ethan Carrick, Ellis Anderson, Emmett Boudreau, Nathan Torrance, Finnegan Harper, Thomas Greaves, Franklin Marchand, Russell Kincaid, and Henry Atwell. Yellowstone was a sanctuary from fractured lives. Divorce, burnout, grief, the suffocation of desks and deadlines. They arrived with backpacks slung over weary shoulders, bear spray clipped to belts, boots laced tight, seeking the wild's quiet embrace. But beneath its splendor, Yellowstone harbored a shadow. A predator hulking, grotesque, its skin mottled or leathery, its claws gleaming like obsidian, leaving trails of shredded campsites, mangled corpses, and tracks too vast for any known beast. From Garrett's desperate flight in 2017 to Henry's revolver-lit stand in 1992, their stories weave a tapestry of dread, a creature, Wendigo, Rougarou, Shunka Warakin, that hunts not just flesh but the terror pulsing beneath it. This is their chronicle, a descent into Yellowstone's unseen wild, where evidence, gouged earth, blood-soaked dirt, whispered warnings, bears witness to a truth too visceral to deny, too relentless to escape. The first echoes, a silence too deep. Garrett Lauren stood at the Soda Butte Creek trailhead on a late July morning in 2017, 36 years old, a geologist whose days in Helena were spent hunched over seismic charts, tracing fault lines that seemed to mirror the cracks in his own life. Yellowstone was his reprieve, a place where the Earth's bones lay exposed, where the sulfurous breath of geysers and the untamed sweep of Lamar Valley could scrub away the monotony of fluorescent lights and stale coffee. He parked his Jeep, a dust-streaked relic of weekend escapes, just before 7 a.m., the air sharp with pine and the promise of solitude. His plan was simple, a 20-mile loop through the valley, a casual trek he'd finish by dusk. His pack was lean, 2 liters of water in a battered canteen, a Ziploc of trail mix, a first aid kit with gauze and antiseptic, a folding knife whose blade gleamed more from slicing apples than any notion of defense, and a canister of bear spray dangling from his belt. He'd read the park's manuals, memorized the rules. Make noise, store food high, respect the wildlife, and it respects you back. Guns felt excessive. Bears were avoidable, a dance of caution he'd mastered through years of hiking. That was the contract he trusted. The morning unfolded like a painting. Lamar Valley stretched wide, its meadows a sea of green beneath an azure sky that seemed to press down with its clarity. Bison grazed in the distance, their massive forms cutting dark silhouettes against the grass. Their grunts a low, guttural hum carried on the breeze. Garrett passed other hikers, families with binoculars slung around necks, scanning for wolves. A lone man in a faded cap, eyes fixed on the horizon, offering nods but no words. Solitude was his aim, the silence a balm to his restless mind. By noon, 10 miles in, sweat beaded his brow, and he veered toward a creek sheltered by a canopy of pine and fir. The air cooled here, the water's burble a soft counterpoint to the valley's expanse. Kneeling to refill his canteen, the icy flow numbing his fingers, he squinted upstream. 50 yards away, the bank was disturbed. Sand churned, rocks displaced, a shallow hole gouged into the earth. Beside it lay shredded fabric, unmistakably a backpack strap, its nylon frayed into threads, and a hiking boot, its leather split and chewed, laces tangled in the dirt. His breath caught. He knew the statistics. Dozens vanished in national parks yearly, swallowed by cliffs or rivers, but this was no statistic. This was evidence, raw and immediate, clawing at his gut. The smart move was to retreat, report it, but curiosity, or perhaps a geologist's instinct to probe the unknown, drove him forward. He followed faint signs. Broken branches dangling like snapped bones, tufts of coarse fur snagged on bark, a path veering deeper into the woods. The forest thickened, sunlight fracturing through the canopy into slivers that danced across the mossy floor. Shadows lengthened, the air growing heavy with the scent of sap and damp earth. Then he found it, the first corpse. A deer, its body twisted into an unnatural arc. Neck bent backward so its antlers grazed its spine. Torso ripped open, ribs splayed like jagged teeth. Flies swarmed the exposed flesh, their buzz a relentless drone. The stench, rot, sharp and sour, clawing up his throat. He stepped back, fighting nausea. Bears killed for food, wolves for survival. This was neither. This was carnage, a display of violence that defied nature's efficiency. A branch snapped behind him, sharp as a rifle shot, and he froze, every hair on his body rising. Slowly, he turned, eyes straining against the shifting shadows. Nothing, then movement, a blur, massive and fleeting, darting between trees with a speed that mocked gravity, gliding more than running. His heart slammed against his ribs as the forest darkened, the canopy swallowing the sun. A stench rolled in fresher, stronger, like spoiled meat baking under a relentless sky. He backed away, retracing steps, but the rustling grew. Faint at first, then louder, closer, a rhythm of pursuit. Glancing over his shoulder, he caught glimpses. Tall, over 8 feet, lanky yet muscled, skin mottled like tree bark, arms swinging low, too long for its frame. The trail blurred as he jogged, panic gnawing at his resolve. Then the second body, a man, mid-30s, sprawled in the undergrowth. His torso was shredded, ribs gleaming through torn flesh, face frozen in a rictus of terror. One leg missing, blood pooling into the dirt, soaking roots black. Garrett's legs locked, his mind a whirl of disbelief and dread. Snaps circled him, deliberate, measured, a predator's game. Instinct screamed run, but logic warned against it. Flight triggers chase. He fumbled for the bear spray, the canister slick with sweat, his thumb trembling over the trigger. 20 yards away, it stepped from the trees. Hunched, claws scraping the earth, skin rough as crocodile hide, head elongated, canine yet grotesque, teeth jagged and uneven, glinting in the dim light. It sniffed, chest heaving, each breath a guttural rasp, as if savoring his scent, his fear. Garrett squeezed the trigger, orange mist bursting forth, clouding the air between them. It recoiled, a snarl tearing from its throat, visceral and deep, shaking his bones. He ran, branches whipping his face, adrenaline a wildfire in his veins, drowning out the sting of cuts and the burn in his lungs. The creature pursued, crashing through the underbrush, its ragged breathing a relentless echo. Garrett stumbled into a clearing, spotting hikers, a man, woman, 2 teens, clustered around a tripod, oblivious. "Run!" he shouted, waving arms like a madman, voice cracking. They turned, confusion etching their faces, and that hesitation was their end. The creature erupted from the trees, grabbing the man, lifting him like a doll, spine snapping with a wet crunch before it tossed him aside. The woman screamed, throat slashed in a swift arc, blood spraying the grass. The teens froze as it tore through them, a hurricane of claws and teeth, leaving broken bodies in its wake. Garrett fled, its focus shifting back to him too late. The sounds faded as he reached the creek, then the trailhead, his jeep a beacon of salvation. At the ranger station, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, he spilled his story, breathless, disjointed, to skeptical ears. "Bear, probably," they said, eyes narrowing at his hysteria. A week later, an article cited a probable bear attack in Lamar Valley. 2 bodies found, no mention of the hikers, the creature. Garrett pored over cryptid lore, Wendigo maybe, but its flinch at the spray, its hesitation gnawed at him. Could be hurt, killed perhaps, but it wasn't natural, and Yellowstone was no longer his refuge. Callum Rossner, 28 in 2018, was a geology grad student from Missoula, his life a tangle of basalt flows and looming deadlines. Yellowstone was his playground, a chance to map lava tubes while dodging his advisor's scrutiny. He hiked a remote trail, armed with a field notebook, GPS, and bear spray, no rifle, a choice born of hubris and disdain for lugging extra weight up steep slopes. 5 miles in, the forest shifted, undergrowth thinning to bare dirt, scarred with claw marks. For inches deep, space too wide for bears, too erratic for cougars. He knelt, tracing the grooves with a finger, their edges sharp as if carved by talons. The air changed, metallic, like rust, mingling with decaying vegetation. A deer's remains lay ahead, limbs scattered like a child's puzzle, ribs gleaming white, head gone. Cleanly severed, surgical. His stomach churned, but he pressed on, rationalizing. Predators kill, nature's cycle. The lava tube loomed, a jagged basalt maw descending into darkness, its silence oppressive. He set up his gear, calipers, camera, glancing over his shoulder as the forest hushed, birds and squirrels swallowed by a void. A rhythmic thud broke the stillness, heavy, deliberate, closing from the trees. Callum fumbled for the bear spray, heart pounding as it emerged. 8 feet, coarse for swallowing light, limbs grotesquely long, claws like sickles, head canine yet flattened, snout broad, teeth jagged and protruding. It moved, half lumbering, half slithering, as if its joints defied anatomy. It charged, a blur of menace. Callum sprayed, the mist stinging his own eyes as its snarl vibrated his chest, knocking breath from his lungs. He bolted, abandoning gear, forest blurring as adrenaline surged. A man's scream, sharp, panicked, cut through. Callum veered, finding Harris Cordell, mid-50s, a retired ranger, leg torn, blood soaking his flannel. The creature loomed. Callum swung a branch, with splintering against its hide. Harris fired a revolver. 6 shots, black ichor oozing from wounds. It staggered, snarling weakly, retreating. They limped to the trailhead, Harris muttering of rumors. Strange attacks he'd chased for years. Rangers filed a report, but skepticism clouded their nods. Days later, Callum returned with friends. The clearing was empty. Carcass, gear, gone, as if the forest reclaimed it. Harris died months later, torn apart in another park. Official word. Bear. Callum's scars itched with the truth. It was no bear, and it wasn't done. The predator's gaze, a game of shadows. Aidan Murdoch, 34 in 2003, grew up in Montana's backwoods, a restorer of historic structures whose hands knew wood and stone better than people. Post-breakup, the Lamar River Trail was his therapy. Yellowstone's wilds a cathedral of sagebrush and pine. His pack held water, jerky, a map, GPS, and a hunting knife, no gun. His confidence a shield forged by years of solitary treks. Meadows glowed golden, bison blending into the grass, their snorts a distant chorus. The trail narrowed, pines blackened from old fires closing in, air thick with sap and damp earth. A stillness settled, not peace, but absence. Birds silent, squirrels vanished. At a creek, trout darted in crystal water. On the far bank, rocks formed a spiral. Too precise, too fresh, dirt undisturbed. He snapped a photo with his disposable camera, unease prickling his neck, but pressed on, chalking it to an overzealous hiker. Deeper, the forest grew claustrophobic, sunlight a memory beneath the canopy. A stench hit, metallic, sickly, and a man lay face down, clothes shredded, gashes surgical, ground torn as if clawed by fury. Aidan's mind reeled. Bear? Wolf? But bolted, instinct overriding reason. A scream, high, guttural, primal, echoed, drawing him to a woman's corpse. Throat gone, chest a bloody ruin, eyes wide to the sky. Her backpack spilled. A journal, blood spattered. Something's following us, too fast. Tell my family. Movement spun him. It stood broad, pale, hyena-like snout, teeth jutting at odd angles, gliding with menace. He ran, its heavy steps pounding, diving into underbrush, thorns tearing skin. It closed. He stabbed its neck with his knife, dark blood spilling, its gasp almost human. He fled as it thrashed, a helicopter's hum signaling rescue. Rangers found the bodies. No creature called it Rougarou. A Cajun myth. Yellowstone's sanctity shattered, replaced by dread. Jan Harrington, 31 in 2017, fled Chicago's gray grind for a 4-day trek, a faux adventurer with food, a tent, and bear spray. Bears a forum-hype nuisance he scoffed at. Day 1 buzzed with hikers, retired couples, college girls spotting bison. But day 2 thinned to solitude. A boot lay trailside, laces tied, then a flannel, smeared with maybe mud, maybe blood. A man stood by a scratched bridge, stiff, jerky, vanishing into the woods. That night, huffing and footsteps circled his tent, a flashlight beam catching a massive silhouette, angular, slick. By dawn, a ranger station loomed, collapsed, blood-smeared, tracks massive with clawed toes. Daylight revealed it. Mottled, reptilian, teeth jagged, tilting its head, studying him. Bear spray drove it back. Ranger Darren found him, later uncovering a severed arm, dirt under its nails. The trail closed, whispers of Rougarou haunting forums. Jan's adventure ended, the wild secret branded into him. Caleb Orville, mid-30s in 2019, a Minnesotan nursing a broken engagement, hiked a 4-day loop, veering onto an unmapped path of weathered trees. Twilight hushed the forest. Wind, birds, squirrels gone. Rasping, low, rhythmic, pricked his ears. It crouched, gray, taut, limbs bent wrong, teeth uneven, circling, testing. Bear spray stung it, a snarl wheeze echoing. Caleb ran, barricading himself in a ruined ranger station as it clawed outside, with splintering. Dawn revealed mangled carcasses, rabbits, squirrels, a warning. Hikers found him, half dead. Wendigo tales didn't fit. This was summer, real, relentless. Ethan Carrick, post-divorce in 2012, an accountant turned solo hiker, found a shredded backpack, claw marks deep, blood-dried, near rocks. Footprints, twice his boot size, heavy, led to a deer, mangled, neck snapped. A scream, not human, heralded it. 8 feet, matted fur, wolfish yet sinister, claws curved. Bear spray recoiled it. It slaughtered a couple ahead, his rock and pole wounding its side, face before he fled. Rangers blamed a rogue grizzly, but Ethan's scars and Shunka Warrican lore screamed otherwise. The hollow's teeth, survival's cost. Ellis Anderson, 2006, an accountant on a week-long trek near Thoroughfare, the park's remotest reach, found massive, lizard-like tracks post-rain, stride impossibly long. A deer's headless corpse, ribs splayed, oozed precision, flies hesitant. Night brought scraping, thuds circling his tent. Slow, deliberate. Dawn unveiled it. 7 feet, patchy fur, spider-like, head wolfish yet ridged, charging silently. Bear spray slowed it. He hid in a crevice, its claws raking stone, breath wet and foul. His car bore gouges, tires slashed, it had waited, patient. Rangers found bones, dismissed them. Ellis traced decades-old vanishings, swearing off Yellowstone. Emmett Boudreau, 2013, a Louisiana photographer 10 miles in, captured bison until bones, gnawed, jagged, littered a clearing. Night footsteps circled, claw marks bird-like, massive. Then a man's scream. Nathan Kimball, torso ripped, arms gone. 8 feet, skeletal, crocodile-faced, chased. Emmett reached his truck, rangers seizing his photos, whispering Rougarou. Nathan erased from records, a ghost. Nathan Torrance, 2013, a Montanan post-divorce, found a campsite. Tent torn, bones human, blood fresh. Thuds and chittering heralded it. Gaunt, antlered, mechanical, lunging. His knife sank in. It impaled a hiker, spared him after a rock's distraction. Rangers blamed bears, but Marissa's corroboration and Wendigo whispers lingered. Finnegan Harper, 2018, a geology professor on Specimen Ridge, traced gouges to a bone spiral, deliberate, eerie. It's 7 feet, hunched, fur-mottled, charged. Bear spray veered it. He ran, its pursuit fluid, hiding in boulders as it sniffed, claws scraping. His car was clawed. Rangers dismissed it, but old reports mirrored his nightmare. Thomas Greaves, 2007, post-divorce, found an elk. Bite marks wide, ribs torn. A hum grew. It, 8 feet, leathery, horse-like, charged. Revolver shots felled it briefly, black blood pooling. He fled, rangers finding shredded gear, Greg hinting at past sightings. Rougarou, Franklin Marsh and, 2013, a photographer, followed claw-torn earth to a deer's remains. Shredded, fur coarse. Breathing chased him. A man, bleeding, begged help as it, 7 feet, fur-matted, hyena-faced, loomed. A rock stunned it. Franklin reached his truck, rangers finding nothing. The man vanished. Russell Kincaid, 2007, a biology volunteer, traced a forearm-sized track to a deer's surgical ruin. A metallic scream brought it, reptilian, scarred, claws long, charging. He hid. Ranger Bowman fired, vanishing, hat bloodied. Claw marks scarred the station. Henry Atwell, 1992, found an elk, bitten wide, head twisted. A hum circled. It, 8 feet, dark, horse-like, charged. Revolver shots wounded it. He fled, rangers finding claw marks, Greg hinting at old tales before agents silenced him. Rougarou, the evidence bleeds, a truth unburied. Yellowstone's predator shifts, mottled, leathery, antlered. Its hunger a constant. Claw marks too wide, carcasses too precise, tracks too vast. It bleeds, flinches, yet endures, a relic or curse defying classification. Reader, would you walk these trails? Bear spray trembling, daylight your fragile shield? Could you face its jaws, or leave its hunger to whisper in the dark? The forbidden excavation unearths this terror, daring you to peer into the wild's abyss.